or watching the other video ahead of time if you were able. We thought we'd kick off by doing introductions of everybody to make sure we all had a sense of who is in the room, as it were. So what we can do is run down the list of participants. And if you could say your name, title, institution, and what your ACRL role is, that would be great. And if sounds like maybe someone might need to mute, because I think we're hearing a lot of background noise. So maybe what we could do is I'll run through the list and call out names, and then you could unmute and introduce yourself. And if you have video on, it's nice to have the chance to chat. And if you don't have video or mic, we can just use the chat box for you. So Anne, are you here?
Hello, everybody. I'm Ann Beeler, and I am serving as the Vice Chair of the Immersion Committee this year.
Thank you. Dawn, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, and I am a librarian at Lenore Brown University, and I'm going to be the Vice Chair for the Membership Committee.
Thank you. Eric? Eric might not be able to hear me at the moment.
Eric's in chat, Lauren.
Oh, I missed that. Thank you.
In chat. So.
Oh, thank you. There you are. Thank you, Eric. Kimberly? Did I miss?
Kim Eccles?
Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry. The names in the participant list are jumping around, so I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, sorry. I'm Kim Eccles. I'm Assistant Dean for Research at Mercer University Libraries and Vice Chair for Standards.
Do you need us to check that for you, Kim? You don't sound real certain about that.
I think I saw something that said chair, and I'm thinking, I don't recall that, but if you help me out, I'd appreciate it. So I'm going to stick with Vice Chair for now.
Okay, Lois, would you make a note? Let's try to make sure we confirm what appointment Kim has so we can get back to her.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Lorraine?
Hi, I'm Lorraine Dallas. I'm at University of Texas at Austin, and I'm co-chair of the STS Membership and Recruitment Committee.
Thank you. Liz? King?
Hi, that's me. I'm at Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas, and I'm the incoming vice chair for the Committee on Professional Values.
Thank you. Nathan?
Hello, I'm Nathan Hall, Associate Director for Digital Imaging and Preservation Services at Virginia Tech, and I'm the incoming Vice Chair for Research and Scholarly Environments Committee.
Thank you. And then it looks like the username, Pierce, yeah?
Hi, I think that's me. I'm Jeanette Pierce. I'm the Associate University Librarian for Research Access and Instructional Services at the University of Missouri. And I'm the incoming Vice Chair of the Academic Librarian of the Year Award Committee.
Thank you. Yasmin?
Hi, I'm Yasmin Shurish, and I'm the Data Services Coordinator at James Madison University in Virginia. And I'm the Vice Chair and incoming Chair for the Research and Scholarly Environment Committee.
Thank you. And then Farzana? All right, maybe we'll have to circle back. So I jotted down names since they were jumping around in the participants list. Did I miss any committee chairs or incoming chairs?
Did we get Kevin?
Kevin, no, I didn't see that name. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
We can.
Oh, okay, good. Wasn't sure if my mic worked. Yeah, I'm the new ACRL Government Relations Chair.
Thank you. All right, so we have a couple slides to introduce the myself and the staff in the room. So my name is Lauren Presley. I'm the incoming president after this annual, and I work at the University of Washington and the University of Washington Tacoma. And Mary Ellen?
I'm Mary Ellen Davis. I'm the ACRL Executive Director.
Mary Jane?
I'm Mary Jane, and I am the staff liaison to the ACRL Membership Committee, the ACRL Section Membership Committee, the ACRL Academic Library Trends and Statistics Survey Editorial Board. Let's see, what else? Anyway, it's nice to be here with you today.
Thank you. Alison is away from the office. I don't know if we want to introduce who she works with on her behalf.
Yeah, Alison Pain is the program officer who is works primarily with the board and budget and finance committee, but she will also be sending you as committee chairs a lot of messages. Each of the committees will have a variety of staff liaisons, but some of those reminder messages will come out from Alison.
And then Lois. Who maybe we all have met at this point.
And I'm Elora Sharp, the ACRL Program Coordinator, and I am the individual who will assist you with your virtual meetings as well as annual conference meetings and midwinter meetings.
Thank you. And then I see in the chat that I missed the other Kim, so I'm very sorry, but thank you for introducing yourself through chat as well. Just wanted to call everyone's attention to that introduction too. So now that we have a sense of who all is in this room, I just wanted to remind everyone about the Leadership Council and Membership meeting at the annual conference. We are going to hold it in the Hilton Riverside, which is a little closer to the convention center, and we have adjusted the time because we recognize people have an interest in getting to the Michelle Obama talk. So we wanted to highlight this meeting as one that is an important opportunity to get together with other ACRL leadership, but also to acknowledge that we're responding to member interest in that presentation and making sure we're trying to make it work so that you can attend both if you're able to be there.
And I'll just add, this is Mary Ellen. We are going to beef up the snacks so that if you're just flying in that morning and you're coming in from the airport, we will have some sustenance for you if you are able to get to the reception. And then we're ending early so that depending on what Secret Service security requirements there are for Michelle Obama's talk, you'll have time to get there. They will be running express buses from the Hilton to the convention center because even though the hotel is right next door, it's still a mile away apparently. And there are 2 Hiltons, and so my best information is we are going to be at the Hilton Riverside. So that is what's going to appear in the scheduler. And I'm just curious how many of you that are here today are going to be able to attend the Leadership Council meeting. Maybe you can, feel free, there's a small enough number, feel free to chat, to say out loud, to speak. I can't talk. As Eloa said, we've done a lot of these, or feel free to put in the chat box. So we have Nathan's coming, Anne's not going to be able to. All right, so it looks like about 50-50. I'm sorry for those of you that can't come. As Lauren said, when you can come, it's a great opportunity to meet the board members, meet some of the staff, and meet your colleagues who are working on other committees or in sections or interest groups. The board relies on this group a lot for informing them on the issues that you're confronting with, and also as sort of a check with the membership when they have ideas that they want to touch base on. And we've always used this group to work with us on developing strategic plans or adjusting strategic plans. So at this meeting, we're going to be working on continuing our conversations on equity, diversity, and inclusion and what ACRL can do about those. So we will look and see if there are things that we can send out to those of you that aren't able to be there in person that you can use with your committees. We will do that. And if you're a committee chair or vice chair and aren't able to be there, feel free to pass along the invite to somebody else on your committee who might be in New Orleans that is able to represent your group.
Thank you. So with that sort of introduction to that meeting, we really have preserved the rest of this time to answer questions that you might have. We have a number of sort of prompt questions in case we need something to get the ball rolling. But I wanted to open the floor in case there are any pressing things people wanted to talk about before looking at any of the ones that we came up with. And you can use the mic or you can use the chat box, whatever you're more comfortable with.
This is Lorraine, and I have a question. After listening to the recording, we were invited to join a discussion group. And when I looked at the ACRL discussion groups, I saw one that I think is actually for the chairs at the ACRL level, but I'm actually at the STS level. So yeah, I know I could join the group anyway, but is there a different group that I missed, or is that the one that was being referred to in the training video?
That is a great question, and it just shows that it can be a little confusing, so I apologize for that. So the committees was sort of intended to be the division level committees, and that's what that orientation video was aimed for. And then we had another one for sections, and so it might have been more helpful for you to actually see the sections one. And if you have any, and they're not that different, but sections have some different kinds of things with funding and like the ACRL board does not require sections to do work plans, for example, and we spent some time on work plans in the committee one. So if you have suggestions on how we can make that more clear, which one would be most helpful, certainly we'd love to have you learn everything about ACRL, but recognizing that your time is limited, I'm certainly open to suggestions about how we can more clearly label those.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think to get to the heart of your question about the discussion list, there's a section list for section chairs and vice chairs. And then I think each section decides how they want to communicate with the chairs of their section committees. So I don't know off the top of my head whether STS has its own section committee discussion list. Your section leader ought to be able to find out, or I can ask our staff liaison, Megan Griffin, if you're not sure.
Mary Ellen, this is Mary Jane. I just happen to know because I'm subscribed to the STS discussion list.
Thank you. Jump in, please.
I think there's a separate list for your STS council, and then the entire section has an open discussion list that's just the STS-L. And then we have another list, of course, for all the, section leaders, which is the Communities of Practice discussion list, and you've been subscribed to that.
Mary Jane, I thought, and I apologize for you guys having us not clear on that, but I thought that the COPA list was only for the chairs and vice chairs, not for the chairs of the individual section committees.
You're right.
Okay. But the STS council list and the general STS list would be things that would be available to her. So hopefully we haven't thoroughly confused you now.
See, this is Lorraine again. I was having technology issues here, but I'm back. And I said, no, it was the fact that I was listening to information for the wrong level, but I know about the STS group, so that's
okay.
Fine. Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you, Lorraine. Mm-hmm. One of the things we wondered if it would be helpful to you all if Elois did a review of how to schedule a virtual meeting, or have you all done that and know how to do it? We want this time to be meaningful for you. If you understood everything from the video, I have no objection to ending a meeting early, but we're here. So if you have questions or if you'd like a review on anything, we would be glad to do that. So Liz said she'd be interested in seeing the virtual meeting review. So with one comment, I say we go ahead with that. Oh, there's two. Okay, a number of people would be interested in that. So Elois, you're up.
Okay.
And Elois is our expert in this, and she does a very nice job. So if we have questions, she is the point person for our virtual meetings. So you've got access to the right person right at this moment.
All right. So the first thing you want to do is to click on the, you can do this one or two ways. You can go to chapter 8 on our website, and once I get through sharing this, I will post the link in the chat box, and it will bring you directly to the virtual meeting LibCal website. And the first page you're going to land on is the actual first date of the calendar that's available for you to actually schedule a meeting. If that's not the date you want, that's fine. If you see to the left of the screen where there's the calendar May, you simply just hover your mouse over the calendar, the arrows on the calendar, to advance the calendar to the month you actually want to schedule your meeting in. But for the sake of this little presentation, I'm just going to stay on May 31st. And if you see that there is several green boxes as well as red boxes. Red is an indication that someone has already booked that time in LibCal and it is no longer available. The time slots are from 9 to 10. That's available for a meeting 11 to 12, 1 to 2, and 3 to 4. All of the green boxes means something is available and you can book that time. You simply click on the time that you want to schedule your meeting or request your meeting. But before I click on that box, I want to go back to the left side of the calendar. We have two virtual meeting platforms that you have the liberty to use. That's Adobe Connect and Zoom. So you want to make sure that you're clicking on the correct calendar virtual meeting software that you want. Adobe Connect has the capacity to hold up to 99 participants, and Zoom has the capacity to hold up to 999 participants. So I'm going to click on Adobe Connect at 1:00 p.m. Once I click on that calendar, it turns from green to orange, or if you want to call it gold. That lets you know that that particular meeting is pending. Someone has requested it, but it has not been approved as of yet. And once you click on the time that you desire to host your meeting, you're going to scroll down and you will click on the continue button. Once you click on that continue button, it will bring up the actual template that you need to fill out so that we'll have the information we need to schedule your meeting. It's going to ask for your first and last name, your email, of course your unit, whether it's a section, committee, interest group, discussion group, or other, such as a task force. Once you select something from that drop down, you're going to move on to the next item, which is your unit name as it appears in the directory. For committees, if you are on the diversity committee, you will simply put in ACRL Diversity Committee. Once you do that, of course, you're going to scroll down and we want the exact name of your meeting. So whatever you desire to name your meeting for that day, that's what we're going to send out to you. The number of attendees, it doesn't have to be accurate, just an estimate. Then we need to know what type of meeting you're requesting. Is it a committee meeting, a discussion forum, or is it simply a practice session? Now this is very important because if your meeting is a discussion forum, those are usually meetings that you have specific topics and you've invited speakers in and you desire to have those particular meetings recorded. And based upon what you select here and your estimated attendees, you know, that also determines what type of the software platform you're going to use. So that's important. As I stated previously, if it's Adobe Connect, just remember it can only hold up to 99 participants. If you are not familiar with Zoom or Adobe Connect, I highly recommend once you request your meeting, that you also request a practice session. And this is also valuable if some of your speakers are not familiar with the software platform as well. And then the last box is comments. If you're having a discussion forum, we ask that you include your speakers' names and your emails. We're going to be tweaking this in the near future to ask for a bit more information, but for right now, this will suffice. And once you've entered all that information, you simply click Submit My Booking. Once you click Submit My Booking, I will get an email and I will look over your information. I will schedule your meeting, and I will send you the link back via LibCal. So you want to make sure once you've scheduled your meeting, if it's not around annual meeting or midwinter time, and I'm saying that because those are our peak hours and we have a higher volume of virtual meeting requests around that time, you should get a response from me within 48 hours. If you have not heard from me within 48 hours, I will not be offended if you send me an email and say, Eloise, did you get my request? But I also would recommend that you check your spam box. All right, and on that note, does anybody have any questions?
One quick question. If I needed to schedule under the standards committee, a meeting with the task force that we're working with at the time, how do we get that information? It may not just be a question for the platform that we're using, but just general practice.
I apologize, Kim, you're kind of low to me. Will you repeat your question for me?
Okay, my question may be more of a question of processes as opposed to the platform, but with the standards committee, there were times that we needed to meet with our task forces that were carrying out our plans and updates. How would we get that information, get contacts and that information to set up meetings with them? Is that something that you could locate the information for us and do that? Or that was a problem for the past 2 years, reaching those folks?
Well, Kim, I can jump in if you want, Eloise. If I'm understanding you.
I can't hear. You're on mute.
I apologize. I clicked too fast. Can you hear me now? So this is Mary Ellen, and one of the things that you should have had access to, and if I'm not answering your question, we'll reframe it, but I thought what you were asking is how do you find your people and how do you schedule a meeting? Is that correct? Now
Kim, you need to unmute yourself.
I can't hear you now, Kim.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, not the committee members under standards, the standards committee members, but those members of task force that the standards folks are coordinating with.
Oh, okay. So on the ACRL website is a directory of leadership, and the same place, I'll paste that into our chat box here. There you can find every task force, every committee, every interest group within ACRL. And if you're logged in as a member, you will see their contact information. So you'll be able to see like the media guidelines task force and who the chair is and get their emails. And then if your question was about how do you know how to schedule a meeting with them, a lot of people have been using things like Doodle poll, and somebody suggested, Sarah Wenzel suggested something else yesterday, but I forget the name of it. Do you remember, Eloise or Mary Jane, from the chat? It was a new app that I wasn't aware of, but Doodle poll is a free scheduling app, and some of you may use other ones that you like, and so we've used those for people to put in common times. Does that get at it, Kim, or is there another piece of it I'm missing?
It's very close.
Okay.
We use Google Docs and Google polling, and we use a lot of that. However, on the site, a lot of those task forces, the individuals listed on there were no longer the persons on that task force. I actually ended up crashing a meeting just to find the person who was then responsible.
Well, that's interesting because those that directory comes right out of ALA's membership database. So if somebody has accepted their appointment, then that's who it is. So if they quit, they maybe didn't tell us, and so we didn't know. So if you ever have a challenge with that, again, I believe David Free is the ACRL staff person who's liaison to standards. Reach out to David. He can figure out who is supposed to be on that task force or alert us. I do remember back in the day, before I was on staff, when I was a member of an ACRL committee, it never even occurred to me to tell the office when I had to resign a committee. I just told my committee chair, and so the records were never updated at the office. And so perhaps somebody did that and just let a colleague know, but then nobody here knew. And if we don't know, we can't change the database, so that stuff will keep displaying with what that person accepted. So like I had posted to you, according to this directory of leadership, you're currently vice chair of standards and you'll become chair on July 1.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to talk about that offline or need some support with that, Lauren and I would be happy to work with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You know, another area where there's sometimes questions, and I recognize we have a number of seasoned committee chairs here who have done this, but another possible item you might want a review on are work plans. Is everybody familiar with the committee work plan process and how to do it and how to work with your board and staff liaisons? Or do you want a review of that?
This is Nathan. I'd be happy to hear more about that.
Okay, Lauren, you want to get us started, and then I'll do my best to fill in some nitty gritty. Although without Alison here, I will confess up front that I cannot recite the deadlines for things this summer, but you will be getting lots of reminders about those.
Yeah, so I think I will speak from the highest level about it, and then Mary Ellen, thank you for helping sort of flesh out the details, because I have not actually been in your specific position and filled one out from the chair role in the past. But generally speaking, the work plans are both a way to communicate what it is that you're planning to do and the work that you're doing and sort of talk with the board about it, and also a way to tie it to the strategic directions of ACRL as outlined in the Plan for Excellence. So there are categories there to flesh that out. And then of course it can help you keep on track, because a lot of this work is so complex, it allows you to sort of have a way to make sure that you're doing all the things that you're planning to do in the course of the year. And there is a lot of communication coming from Alison. The board gets access to these, so we review these as well. Mary Ellen, are there things specifically that you want to call attention to?
Well, I would just add that this is really an opportunity for you as the leaders of the committees to make sure that you're clear on what you want to accomplish during your year as chair and vice chair, and that if your goal area committee, as I know Nathan and I think Yasmin are both here as goal area committee chairs, that you're in sync with the board and what the board is also expecting to see to advance that plan for excellence, the strategic plan. And then we really hope you'll use those as planning documents so that you can convey to your committee members who's doing what and when is it due. I think our hope, the board's hope, is that these forms are not just a meaningless exercise. We're not interested in making you fill out a bunch of stuff, but are really a helpful planning tool so that you and your members of your committee feel that you've had a productive year, that you really know what you were trying to accomplish, and that you've devised a plan to make sure you get there. We certainly recognize how busy you all are. We know that everybody has taken on more work and less resources, and that you are then have volunteered to help the profession through work on the association. So we know your time is at a premium, and we're hoping that these tools will focus your time so you can get the most done with the least amount of effort. Alison will be sending out reminders of deadlines in mid-July is when your first draft of your work plans are done. The current chair should be finishing up the report for you for the year about what was accomplished last year, and then you would be working with the current and incoming committee members to figure out what do you want to accomplish, or what was left over from last year, what was a 3-year plan and you're in the middle of year 2, and how are you going to get that done. And then if you're a goal area committee, we typically have had you finish working with the board at the strategic planning session just to make sure that something new hasn't come up at the last minute and that we're really covering what we need to do. Elois has been okay, good. So Elois is saying that the templates and the instructions will be sent out by Alison probably towards the end of this month. And the board does read them. I guess the other point I would make is that we really hope that you'll see your board liaison and your staff liaison and you and the vice chair as a team of people that are shepherding this work plan process through. The staff have a lot of history in terms of what's been done before. They have a lot of knowledge about budgets if resources are needed, or about processes, and really can help. And the board liaison can give you that board perspective. So we encourage you to set up conference calls with the board liaison, staff liaison, yourself, the vice chair, the chair and vice chair, and make sure everybody's on the same page and that everybody has the same information and that you're getting the information you need to complete the plan for the year. And I know Mary Jane has, as a staff liaison, has worked with a number of committees in a different way than I do, because the board doesn't do its own work plan in quite the same way. So Mary Jane, did you have anything you wanted to add about how you see some successful committees? Oh, see, we each have our different perspective. Please, add away.
So I'm the staff liaison to, I think, about 7 or 8 different division level committees, only one of which is a goal area committee. So just looking ahead to the summer, I would say you have kind of a real team. You have your staff liaison and you have your board liaison who really appreciate seeing like your first draft, and we can give you some maybe feedback on things that that aren't clear, or kind of point you to say, oh, did you know these resources are available? But you know, from the staff perspective, it's really helpful for me to be in on the planning, because then I can calendar support for your various projects, and it's good to, you know, kind of know what each of my committees is planning to do. So I guess my biggest piece of advice is when you do your first draft, don't forget to share a copy with your board liaison and your staff liaison. We can work electronically, and sometimes if you just like to have a conference call, the 3 of us can, you know, can talk about the plan and help you.
And we do share all your plans with the board, and that's the way, one way that the board can try and keep up with all the great work that each of your committees are doing. So we will, as I say, it's not a paper exercise. We're very interested to know what the committees are doing, and this is a great way to give us that information.
So this is Mary Jane again, and I'll just kind of remind the group is your board liaison is the person who will officially approve your plan by, I think, mid-August, I think is the general deadline. And then the goal area committees will have their plans approved, I think, at the board's strategic planning and orientation session in September.
Another reason to work with your staff and board team is that they may have a broader view of what the association is doing, and with resources limited, what we really want to do is sort of make sure that if there are 2 very similar ideas or 3 very similar ideas, we kind of get you guys together to figure out how you can work on them together, or have one person take the lead. There's no reason to have 3 committees doing virtually the same thing, or planning the same annual conference program kind of thing separately and then competing against each other, just as one quick example. So where we can insert collaboration, that's always a good thing too. That ended up being more than a quick overview. I apologize if that was more than you wanted to know. Are there any more questions about that, or are you ready to move on to another topic? No, I'll suggest one that I don't think we covered on the video. Sometimes if one is very new to committees, you may not be quite aware of the distinction between the ACRL 2019 conference in Cleveland and the ALA midwinter and annual conferences. And by policy, business meetings can only happen at the ALA midwinter and annual conference meetings the ACRL 2019 conference is just for programmatic work. You can have informal meetups with your groups if you want to, but officially you're not having any business meetings, and we don't provide space or anything like that. So we hope that you'll come to ACRL 2019, that you'll enjoy the programming, that you'll get some great new ideas, but it's not a workspace for your committees. But midwinter is, annual is, and of course virtual meetings. And you can have as many or few virtual meetings as you want. You can come to the conferences, not have meetings, so you're not required to have a meeting at midwinter or annual, but just that distinction that at ACRL we don't provide committee meeting space, because that's not the purpose of that conference.
This is Mary Jane. I think I'll just jump in here and let you know you'll be getting some invitations to volunteer to staff the ACRL membership booth if you're coming to the midwinter or the annual or our conference in Cleveland next year. So it's an opportunity. We offer the board, the section leadership, the membership committee members. So don't be surprised if you see a little invite coming up. We'd love to have you greet our new members. We provide support for answering questions. So just an FYI.
Thanks, Mary Jane. I see Liz has asked a question about blended meetings at the ALA conferences, and I will start, and then Elois will probably need to come in and update my knowledge base. So please feel free to do that, Elois. ALA Conference Services does offer what they call some Skype kits. So if your meeting is in a place that's supporting Wi-Fi, you can get one of those Skype kits. Where I'm not sure is whether they support more than one person at a time or not. I tried that once a number of years ago with a group and found out that I could have one person, but as soon as the next person logged in, they kicked out the first person, just the way the software was set up. But that was a few years ago. We have certainly at the board level had committee chairs make presentations through FaceTime or Skype or Zoom. Sometimes they're even in the same city as us, but they can't get across town and back to their other meetings, so we Zoom them into our board meeting. So we have used our own devices. I've put my cell phone down in the middle of the table and done it that way because I have unlimited data. I can do that. So there are some kits, but you're also welcome to use your own devices. We're not encouraging you to spend a lot of money. I don't mean that, but if you have, Wi-Fi is in the hotel and you have access to that, that's another way that you can bring people in. Elois, do you have anything, or Mary Jane, to add to any specifics that's maybe more recent than what I've kept up with conference services?
This is Elois. Yes, as Mary Ellen stated, you do have the liberty to request a Skype kit, and those Skype kits can hold up to 25 people. If you have your own Skype account, you can use your own Skype account. However, if you do not have a Skype account, they will provide a password during the course of annual meeting. Skype kits are usually delivered approximately 30 minutes before your meeting starts. And if one of those individuals that happen to be delivering your Skype kit to your room, if you're having issues, they'll help you set it up. However, if you have issues after that individual leaves the room, then you'll have the liberty to contact ALA Conference Services, and I will provide that telephone number once I send out the correspondence for annual conference as well as for midwinter, and that's usually done approximately 3 weeks prior to either midwinter or annual conference.
Thinking of thank you, Elois. That was very helpful, and I didn't know we could do up to 25 now. That's much more helpful than the archaic version we were using just a few years ago, but archaic in technology times. One of the other things that may not be transparent, not because we're trying to hide it, but because it just may not be easy to figure out, is that currently ACRL has a practice of having a kind of a, and I'm putting it in quotes, conference hotel. And what I mean by that, that is the hotel where one of the few tangible perks that the president gets is we book a suite for that president to use at the conference. And it's available for informal meetings and things like that. But in that hotel, we tend to schedule a lot of the division level committee meetings. Leadership Council is usually in there. It's the Sheraton Hotel in New Orleans. We moved Leadership Council just this week so that we could be closer to the Michelle Obama keynote to facilitate your getting from Leadership Council to the Michelle Obama opening general session. So we send that note out to leads as soon as we know. We don't always know from conference services as far out as you might want to book your hotel room, but I know some members like to try and get in the hotel that ACRL is going to be, because then they maybe are going to meetings by going up and down an elevator as opposed to trying to ride a bus across town to another hotel. Although as I say that, ALA has listened to the evaluations that conference attendees have filled out, and people have said that they want a smaller campus, they want fewer meetings, they want fewer meeting rooms, they don't want to get on a bus any more than they have to. So you may find that that you can't just get a meeting at the time that you've always had one. You may have to flex a little bit to fit into ALA's new schedule, or to not meet Saturday at 10 o'clock because the rest of the conference is trying to meet Saturday at 10 o'clock. So we will do our best to schedule when you'd like to, but know that there are stricter parameters and fewer rooms than what has been in the past, when it was sort of just whoever wanted to do whatever, we'd find a way to make that happen. And now we have fewer hotel contracts, fewer meeting rooms, and we just ask your flexibility with that. But as soon as we know the hotel that ACRL will be using primarily for division level things, we will share that with you. Now, programs, ALA is trying to put just about every program into the convention center, because another piece of feedback we got is people don't want to have to go back and forth to the convention center and go to a program at the Sheraton and then back to the convention center for a program and half an hour later. So if it's a program your committee is hosting, it's probably going to get assigned to the convention center now.
This is Lorraine Dallas. Can you hear me? I want to make
Yes.
sure that I figured out some other things. Well, I need to apologize. Actually, I was confusing my roles. I'm still within that STS position, but I'm coming in as vice chair of the section membership committee. So I thought I might have, rather than send emails later, I thought I might as well tell you now. So I figured it out. That's why I got the message in.
Oh, very good.
I'm glad I was paying attention, at least to the content, even though I wasn't paying attention to everything. So thank you.
Thank you for doing dual volunteer work. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? You have the ear of the vice president, the all-powerful vice president. So there maybe you've got an idea or a suggestion or something that you've heard around the membership that Lauren should know. So if you have ideas, please.
But also, just generally, I think we're very interested in feedback and ideas. So you're also welcome to email if something strikes you later that you want to talk about, and we can set up a time to chat.
Just one other topic, and thank you, Lauren. Yes, we are always available by email, and we appreciate hearing from you, particularly if you're struggling with something. ALA's parliamentarian, Ellie Mina, has a phrase that I love, and I use it often, and it is, suffering is optional. So in other words, if there's a roadblock or if there's a barrier, do not feel that you are alone and that you've got to solve it all on your own. That's why we have a team of board liaisons and staff liaisons and your committee. We are here to help. We recognize you're busy, so please do not suffer. But it occurred to me that another new thing is ALA Connect. ALA just launched in the last couple of weeks a brand new version of Connect. The staff, I have to thank, has worked closely with the IT department to try and make sure that all your committee and section committee files moved over to the new ALA Connect. But it's very much a learning process in terms of how we best use it. I know there's been some conversations around ALA that maybe Connect should be where we put all of the internal information, and the website should only be for non-librarians, like external facing, but we haven't quite figured out how to use that. So in terms of what's the best way to serve you and help you find information. So you'll still find information about our conference and about webinars and things on our website. In the future, is it going to be easier for you to have all that information in Connect? I don't know. We're experimenting, and there's another opportunity for you to let us know what will work best for you. And if you have ideas of things that we should put in Connect that aren't there, let us know. Right now, it's primarily set up to be a workspace for your committee. One of the big changes between the old platform and the new platform is the default in the new platform is private, not public. And I think I was told why, but I don't remember why. So I don't know, Lois and Mary Jane, if you remember why they had a switch. So things that were maybe set up in folders to be public documents are right now private documents. And I don't know if it's easy or possible to switch back, because I think it had something to do with kind of a universal toggle. But these are, and another thing that isn't there right now that I am hoping they add is the polling feature. The board always voted in ALA Connect. It was very useful. It was very easy to see who voted, how they voted, what the tally was. They are looking into adding a widget that'll allow that kind of polling, but right now it isn't there. So the board actually has been, we just put documents in the new ALA Connect, and I think we're polling on a doodle poll to vote as an interim process while we're waiting for the Connect to get finished. Have any of you been in the new Connect space or checked it out or have any ideas about it?
This is Mary Jane. I know we have, I think somebody here from the section membership committee, and that's one of the Connect spaces that we're working with ITTS on to kind of restore your folder and file structure so that you'll have easier access to the membership reports that we're going to be sharing with the committee members each month. So I don't know if you've dipped your toe in that space yet, but we're working on fixing what they're calling the library for that space.
You know, one other thing the board counts on you for, one of the prompt questions was about what to include in your meeting notes. We do share all your meeting highlights with the board of directors, so that again, in addition to your work plans, they can kind of keep up with what you're doing. Not because they're trying to micromanage you, but just because there's a lot going on in this organization, and those snapshots let us all kind of keep an eye on what's going on so that we're informed and can applaud and highlight the work that you're doing when we have the opportunity. So those meeting highlights are not meant to be a verbatim transcript of who said what and she said that, but more like, here are the 3 topics we talked about, and here were the 5 decisions made, and here's who's going to do what by when. So they're really meant to be a brief, short kind of action item highlight. So I always like to encourage you to think of those as something you can do on the plane on the way home. You know, just get it done quickly. I encourage your teams to get it done quickly. That's the place to capture assignments. I don't know about you, but you know, a couple weeks after the meeting, it's summer and my brain is on to other things, and I'm like, oh, what did the board decide about that, or what did they want me to do? And if I don't have notes, it's really hard to recreate, because conference can be an exhilarating and exhausting experience. And if I don't keep a record of what we agreed on or what we want to do next, it's really hard to reinvent that record a couple of months after the meeting itself. And so to keep that momentum going, I encourage you to get those little highlight and next steps going quickly. In fact, the team can tell you I'm sort of kind of really, what's the word I want? Manic is probably too strong, but I really do like recording things. So I've had about 3 smaller staff meetings this week, and I've had my iPad out, and I've been doing the meeting highlights and who's going to do what and by when, and who's responsible for it, so that we have a record of what we're trying to accomplish and make sure we keep track of all those projects. We're down to our last 9 minutes. We can certainly end early. We can also take anything else. Lauren, did you have anything you wanted to particularly highlight as vice president? This is your leadership class, your team, so to speak. Maybe a locker room rah-rah speech for the next year, something, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know about rah-rah, but a couple of the things that I just wanted to note is specifically that the ACRL staff is just incredible and so engaged and willing to work with us and answer questions. And I've had a lot of questions in my role. I would guess that you guys would have questions as well. So there are people here who are spending a lot of time trying to help us and make sure that we're able to do what we're trying to do. So I would sort of both say thank you to the staff and also recommend everyone think of the staff as someone that they can reach out to. As well as your board liaison. I think that the board is so engaged with the association and thinking at this big systems level about what's happening. And I think that taking advantage of the fact that you have a person that you can talk to about what's happening in the big picture and how what you're doing fits in is really helpful from my perspective. But just generally speaking, I really do want to thank everybody for spending time doing this. I know it's a significant ask to do this type of volunteer work on top of your busy life and your busy job, but it means a lot to the field, and we are a better profession because of it. And I'm just very thankful for everybody being willing to put in the time.
I would ditto that. It occurred to me, and I don't remember if we had it in the recording, Lauren, do you want to just mention briefly the board's new strategic initiative and how we've added that little question to the work plans?
Yeah, so it was in the recording, but just because it's such a different thing, I think it makes a lot of sense to talk about. The board decided to approve a signature initiative for the strategic plan. So this is different from the goal areas. It's more of an overarching focus, and the signature initiative that we approved is around equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we're hoping there's a good insider post if you're looking for specifically the language around it. But what the board was thinking about is how can we organize the way we're thinking about our work across the entire division to think about equity, diversity, and inclusion and what we could be doing for it. So you'll notice in the work plan there's a question about in what way does your specific area do this type of work, or what are you thinking about for this type of work? And it's something that I think that the board is spending a lot of time thinking about. We're planning on talking about this at Leadership Council. We're planning on talking about it in the board strategic planning orientation session in the fall. So it's very much sort of central in all of our thinking right now. And if your specific area has anything to contribute in that area, we would love to know about that through the work plan, or if you want to share in other ways. Oh, thank you for linking to the post, Mary Ellen. I don't know if there are any questions about that or anything else at this point. Or if people are anxious to have 5 minutes to get to their next meeting.
That resonated, Lauren. I see some people needing to go to their next meeting. In fact, I postponed my 2 o'clock to 2:30 because I suddenly thought I can't do one meeting, finish one meeting and start the next. So. I want to add my thanks to Lauren. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking on this volunteer role. And thank you to Lauren for the kind words for the staff and for your leadership. It's quite a bit of a commitment to be the ACRL Vice President, President-elect, and we appreciate all the time you're putting in. But we are looking forward to working with all of you, and we are here to help you accomplish what you want to get accomplished this year. So have a great afternoon, and I hope those of you that will be in New Orleans, we'll see you at Leadership Council.
Yeah, and I'll just mention too, there's a survey that we'll send out that we would love for you guys to fill out to help us understand how to make this be even more useful next year. We're always looking for how to improve things. So look for that link, and please help us make this better for the next go round.
Oh, that's right. And Lois, just put that link in. So in the spirit, if you want to get it over quickly, you've got 2 minutes, there's the link, and we'd love to have your feedback so we can adapt. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.